Welcome back, everyone. Before I could start, I would just like to remind you that most of the stories on my channel are taken from a YouTube channel of a famous journalist, Abu Talal Hamrani. Once, the journalist received an email from a man who lives in the region, Jizan region in Saudi Arabia. And actually, it is one of the promising regions where large mega projects of billions of dollars are taking place. Anyways, back to the story. So the email said that there was this man here. He said that of course, he used to work, and his workplace was far from the house, from his house itself, and he used to leave early in the morning. So his wife gave him a call at about 11 a.m. His wife was literally screaming and that she couldn't find her son. And she said, just come back as fast as possible because I have no idea where her son has gone. Someone could have kidnapped him or he's lost. But before he could panic and speed up to actually get to his son, he remembered that in one of the videos, our journalist said that if someone is lost, the first place to search is nearby, like in the neighborhoods itself, especially children especially near the family members or anywhere close enough before reporting. So he was in his car. Of course, he was trying to reach the place as fast as possible. He was giving calls to his family members, asking if they have seen his son or his son would be in their house or something. So they kept on saying that go to the police station right away. But he remembered that he couldn't waste time. He could actually ask someone else to do it, but for him it was more important to just reach and see the situation that was going on there before he could actually judge if he needs the police. So as soon as he approached, he started searching. And there was a passage, I would say, near his house and the neighbor's house. And it was like a it wouldn't be a corridor, it would be a narrow passage. The boy here was stuck in between these two houses. His father immediately pulled him out. Of course, the boy was thirsty. He had been there for hours. He was crying, but when he took him out, he just noticed that in the passage itself, there it was dark, but he could see a snake. Now, why am I telling this, or why did someone could share such a story, is that sometimes, especially if a child is missing, the first step is to just go and search the places around you, because there are areas where it is hard for the police itself to arrive. It takes time. It can also take hours. So the best way is to actually look around before you can go to the police station, because the time you take to actually go to the police station, report the person missing, and come back would be more than actually searching for the person first. After looking close enough, or deep in the passage, he found that there was a snake close enough to the boy, his son. That means if he would have been gone to the police, and it would have taken hours, and that could be, God forbid, something bad could have happened or something worse. This story opens to another story. When a wife is in panic, or a mother, or anyone, and she calls her husband, screaming, and we can understand that there are situations we cannot control, but this could lead to an accident. I mean, if the man would be in a hurry, he can lose his life while speeding. And also he could cause others' life in danger. In 2018 in Kuwait, during November, the weather was rainy and therefore places and houses were flooded. The people went through extreme loss. Here there was a man who was during this time period at his workplace away from his house. The water had entered lots of houses, and one of the houses here, a woman with her children, she was afraid, of course, and the water entered the house and reached, I would say, till her knees. So she started actually picking her kids and putting them on top of the cupboards, actually to save them or to buy more time so that her husband could reach on time and help them. So it seemed to rise slowly, and she started taking, of course, I said, her children. And she gave her husband a call, screaming and yelling for help, that they would die. The man tried to speed up and reach his family, although there were other family members present at home, but she was scared to death. So the only person she could think was her husband. This man, now as I said, he tried to drive as fast as possible. But then his car stopped working. Of course, the water entered the car and stopped working. He couldn't go further. And so he started swimming towards his house. So as I was saying, that the man started swimming towards his house, and the torrent was strong, so he couldn't make it, and the man died. May God have mercy on his soul. The woman and the children were, of course, rescued by the family members. If there is a fact that could cause panic, especially if someone is outside the country, that's why sometimes it's hard, but one has to calm down in these situations. Anyways, there's another story which is quite related. It took place in Kuwait market. The journalist here, Abu Talal, was going on a walk with his friend at about 1 p.m. There was a man who was riding a bicycle selling ice cream. Now, a young man in his 20s was in the car, and maybe he was on his mobile and did not notice. He didn't notice the bicycle or the ice cream. It's not an ice cream truck, actually. It's a cycle. So he bumped into the cycle, and upon noticing, to get away from it or to avoid the accident, he actually bumped into a pole light. And here, the journalist and his friend were the witnesses. They ran to the boy, and he was fine. There were no injuries whatsoever, but he was in panic, and he was maybe shocked of what had happened. And he was a bit sensitive and wanted to give his mom a call. The first thing he thought that he would inform his parents of what had happened to him. The journalist asked him to calm down, but here the boy went on saying that he just called his mother and he said, "Mom, come as fast as you can. I'm going to die." The mom was screaming, and she said, "Just tell me where you are and I'll be there in minutes." Of course, as I said, even if there were injuries, which could be smaller injuries, and he was very much fine because he could talk on the mobile. Anyways, I wouldn't say this, but maybe there are people who love attention, and this boy was an attention seeker or something like that. So the man went to the ice cream man to make sure that he was doing fine. And again, when he was making sure this man is fine, a car out of nowhere with extreme speed approached them and parked. So these guys actually jumped out of panic that what else is going to happen. It was a crazy moment. The mother of the young man here, she came out of the car crying that, "Where is my son?" The woman was in her, of course, in her late 50s, and she was petrified. The journalist here followed her, and she immediately went to the boy, and the boy was in the car with his head on towards his shoulder, acting as if he was about to die. The woman, actually, maybe she suffered from high blood pressure, or she had a diabetic condition. She actually sat on whatever she could on the street. They got her water and they made her calm down, that your son is fine. Now she also started blaming the ice cream man for some odd reason that he couldn't see, but it was the opposite. So she sat on the side of the street maybe, and then from the other end of the street, or from the other side, there was another car approaching with speed, and the father here, who was I would say a bit shorter than his son himself in height, came running out of the car, grabbed his huge son, and he could hardly hold him and took him to the hospital. So, what we are trying to say, or what the lesson here is, that when there is an emergency, don't panic. And if you do, make sure, don't make others panic. So it happens, and it happens every time. These were three short stories which I really liked, and I'm sure you guys will like it too. And thank you for listening.